behind me is the Hyundai Bayon. It's a car which is slightly controversial in its styling, but it offers fantastic value for money. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to the John Banks review channel. As you can see, it's pretty miserable out, so I'm not going to spend much time outside of the car. But if you want to find out everything you need to know about the Hyundai Bayon, then please keep watching. And if you want to test drive one, then you can do that at Hyundai in Cambridge. I'll pop the details down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Right, I'm going to jump back in the car because it's absolutely horrible out here.
The name Bayon is derived from a town in France and reflects Hyundai's focus on the European market with this model. It stands out thanks to its funky styling, although there are some familiar Hyundai design cues, such as the split headlamps at the front like the Kona and Santa Fe. The rear of the car has a similar design to the smaller i10, in which the top half is finished in black glass. The arrow rear lights and the rear light bar finish off the striking design.
So you join me back into the nice warm interior of the Bayon and let's talk about the interior, quality and also equipment that you get as standard on this car. Now first of all, we'll start off with quality. The quality in the Bayon, just like its smaller brother the i20, is mixed, but that's reflected in the price point. You do however get a really nice leather wrapped steering wheel on all versions, and you get a mix of materials used across the rest of the cabin. For instance, you've got plastic which runs across the centre console, and then you have a slightly harder plastic atop the dashboard and underneath where you'll find the glove box. You will actually find a little piece of leather on the door cards, which is really nice because these are areas which you're touching often. There's a lot of plastic, but that's not a problem because it's not areas which you're touching. Those that you are touching, they've made nice and cushioned, which I really like. I also like the colour combination of this version of the Bayon, the slightly darker plastic. It looks a little bit more premium than if you go for the lighter version, which is just a bit more obvious in my personal opinion. So next up, let's talk about tech. So if you go for this version, which is actually the entry-level version, you get quite a lot of tech included, and that is a digital dashboard, which I think looks really smart. I love the graphics when you change your different driving modes. Now, if you go for the entry-level model, you get this screen, which is almost split up into a smaller touchscreen and then some physical buttons down the sides. If you go for the higher spec models, this becomes a slightly more sleeker, larger screen, which is a little bit nicer, but this smaller screen definitely has its benefits, and that's shortcut buttons. The buttons in the Bayon are really easy to use. Simply press the radio or press your media if you want to access your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is standard across all versions. You can also easily find your settings by hitting the setup button. This is definitely going to appeal to lots of different people.
Inside of this entry-level SE Connect car, you'll find some easy-to-use climate dials and air conditioning button. Going for the premium or ultimate model, however, changes these to a digital display.
Down here you've got two USB chargers and some 12-volt charging. Unfortunately, the Bayon doesn't have any USB-C charging as of yet, but this may come on a midlife refresh. You'll find some buttons just down here behind the gear selector, which include your parking sensors and your drive mode. Now, on higher spec versions of the Bayon, this is where you'll also find your other different buttons, for instance, like your heated seats. The gear selector is really large and easy to use, and you do still get a physical handbrake on this Bayon. You don't actually sit that much higher in the Bayon than you do in the i20, but that's no bad thing. It's really easy to get comfortable behind the steering wheel. You've got manual adjustments for the seats, which include height adjustments, and also you have a nice rocker switch to be able to quickly adjust your backrest. I find this far better than the cogs, which are sometimes really difficult to use when driving. You also have both reach and also height adjustments in the steering wheel. So once again, it's really simple to find your ideal driving position. These seats are nice and comfortable. Now the seats in the Bayon aren't the highest in quality. They are cloth, but they're nice and comfortable, and actually you have some quite big bolstering, so they keep you nice and tight when you're cornering. You also get this quite nice geometric design, which almost fades in colour across the seats. It's just something a little bit different to the rivals out there.
There are 3 different versions to choose from. The model that I've been reviewing is the entry-level SE Connect, costing £21,570, £2,500 less than the Skoda Kamiq. Opting for the premium will cost you a further £2,200, but it'll add that more premium screen and the climate controls, as well as heated front seats, bigger wheels and tinted glass, as well as many nice upgrades. The top spec Ultimate will cost you £25,070, but this adds lots of tech, including keyless entry and start, wireless charging pad and a Bose surround system, just to name a few.
Even when opting for this entry-level version of the Hyundai Bayon, you get a ton of equipment as standard. This car gets automatic lights, it gets cruise control, it gets a rear view camera, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, parking sensors and lots of other safety features like lane assist and anti-collision warning, as well as traffic sign recognition. But if you wanted some specification above and beyond the standard, for instance you wanted rain sensing wipers, you wanted satellite navigation, a 360-degree parking camera, adaptive cruise control and automatic climate control, then you will need to go for some of the slightly more expensive models. But actually, if you just want your standard car with nice bits of equipment, then I think this version does the job. Hyundai have kept things really simple when you're speccing up which engine you'd like in your Bayon, because there's just 2, and they're both a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged unit, but one of them gets mild hybrid assistance, and that's the one that I'm driving today. If you go for the 1 litre without the hybrid system, then this gets you 100 brake horsepower, but the little boost of the mild hybrid system brings you up to 120 brake horsepower, which may not seem like a lot, but it is in comparison with a lot of the crossover rivals in their smaller engine variants. Most other rivals of this car do have a more powerful engine alongside their 1 litres as well, but the Bayon has decided to keep things simple, and I think that's perfect for the target audience. They're not expecting Bayon drivers to be doing 200 miles a day, nor do they expect them to need loads of power. They just need them to have enough power around town, and that's what this little engine is perfect for, especially if you go for the hybrid, as you get a little bit more torque down low speeds.
Inside of the boot you'll find a handy 401 litres. The opening is nice and low, so it's easy to lift items inside. The boot floor is adjustable to add a little bit more storage, and there's handy features like luggage hooks and tie-down points. The parcel shelf will also slot nicely behind the rear seats.
Now the Bayon doesn't claim to have class-leading space in the back, but I've actually been pleasantly surprised. I've got quite a bit of headroom and I've got a decent amount of legroom as well. Now I am only around 5'5", 5'6", so taller people might struggle in the back here, but for children it's absolutely fine. It is lacking a little bit in amenities when you go for the entry-level version. Because there isn't a pull-out armrest, you don't have any charging. If you go for the higher spec models, you do get the ability to charge devices in the back, which would be a nice addition. But it's not too bad. You do have space for 3 seats back here, as well as 2 ISOFIX fitments, and you'll also find handy little features like you've got a little groove in the door where you can pop your seatbelts out of the way, so when you've got the rear seats down, the seatbelts don't get caught up behind them. It's just these simple little things which take a pretty plain space and make it a bit more easy to live with. What I have found interesting is with a lot of small cars with small engines, the drive modes don't really make much difference. But it does in the Bayon. When you press the drive mode button and change it from Eco, Comfort to Sport, Sport becomes a lot more responsive. You get quite a lot of throttle response, and the fact that you've got a button right there down on your left hand side means if you do instantly need a bit more power, for instance if you're going for an overtake, then you can hit that button, pop it into sport and get that nice additional boost of power. It also slightly stiffens up the steering, although you're not going to notice a huge difference. Now the Bayon is based on the i20 platform, and that's no bad thing because that's quite a sweet riding car. Of course the Bayon is slightly taller, so it does just lull a little bit more in the corners than the i20. But it's actually quite engaging to drive. It's quite a subtle little crossover car. I was expecting it to be a little bit dull, but actually it can be quite enjoyable to drive if you want to drive it like that. So, what do you think of the Hyundai Bayon? It's a pretty good package, isn't it? I know that the looks aren't going to be for everyone, and some people may need a slightly more powerful engine. But if you're looking for a slightly more affordable SUV, which has tons of equipment and a nice frugal engine, then you can't go wrong with the Hyundai Bayon. I actually think that this version, the entry-level car, is the best value for money, and it still gets loads of nice equipment like that rear view camera. But let me know, what do you think of the Hyundai Bayon? Do you love or hate the looks? Let us know in the comments down below. As ever, if you did want to test drive the Bayon, then you can do that at Hyundai Cambridge. I'll pop the details in the description box down below. I really hope you have enjoyed the video today, guys. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more reviews on this channel, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, see you later.